Here's how to make a mock-up in preparation for making moccashoes with the shoemaking kit. I've run off the patterns from the moccashoe book for the flat one-piece upper and the sole, all in size 8, so I'll cut these out and use them to cut out my felt for the uppers and cardboard, U.S. Postal Service thin cardboard for their mailing boxes is just perfect, and a stapler will be handy. I've cut out my pattern pieces and now I am transferring them to felt. So I drew around this pattern. The outer pattern is for the top sole, and then to get all the stitch marks in the right place, I used my marker and went along here and did them just outside of that top sole line. And now I have to go through here and bring them in about 3/16 inch from the edge. So I'll go along here and continue till I have all of the stitch marks in place. Then I also have the upper pattern that I've taped together, and I've transferred the stitch marks just outside of the bottom line, and we'll do the same thing here, as I will make each of these marks right inside the line, and then I will cut these pieces out. I'm using a recycled United States Post Office mailing box cardboard for my sole, and I've got these canary scissors that are just great for anything, well, for paper, cardboard, and leather. Now my cardboard sole has been cut out, and I've placed it on the top sole, and I want to staple these two together so it will have the same feel as if I had a more rigid bottom sole on the shoe I'm going to actually make. Now it's kind of painful to, it makes sense to add the staples from the bottom so you can see where the edge is, but it makes it kind of hard to get the shoes on without stabbing yourself. So I'm going to just go around here and every so often and in a good distance from the edge, I'm stapling this sole on. Of course you can punch holes and stitch it. Don't have to have a stapler. And now when that's done, I'm ready to start stitching. So I'll start usually it's 5 stitches from this end. I'll start 5 stitches here and on the 5th stitch here as well. That gives me the chance to really pull the heel, gather it tightly when I'm finished stitching. To begin stitching, first I separated out a thin strip of artificial sinew, and I'm starting 5 stitches in, and I wrapped the thread around a couple of times so it's anchored and leaving a tail on the inside, and then I find 5 stitches from the center of the heel and take my thread through there, and then I'm going to do this just a whip stitch, so I'm coming back into the next stitch mark, and continuing like this with the upper edge slightly behind the top sole edge. So I'm going in here, then to my next stitch hole here, and we'll keep on going around the shoe. I've done the whip stitch all around and finished off here at 5 stitches up, and so that I had the opportunity to gather this area at the heel by pulling the thread at the end nice and tight. So I'm tying a knot here with the 2 ends, and the last thing to do is to whip stitch the heel seam, and then I'll be able to try the shoe on and see how my mock-up is either perfect or what needs to be changed. Here's the completed shoe. I stitched the heel seam, and I think that it's a little low, so that's one of the things that I would change, is adding maybe 3/8 of an inch to the actual shoe that I will be making. It seems, I know this last fits me pretty well, and it feels pretty good across here. So the things you would look for are, if there's gapping, you might want to make this a little more narrow through here. You know, you want this to not extend over the sole, the bottom sole. So if it seems like it extends too long, then you probably need to use a bigger sole pattern for making the shoe. Otherwise, I think it's pretty good. If of course, if this is on a human foot, maybe the foot would be wider here and needing a little more space, or narrow. So you just decide what kinds of changes need to happen, and then you're ready to make cut into your leather without concern that it's not going to fit. If you find that it's so frustrating that you just can't get it to really fit your foot, then you might want to make a custom moccashoe. And I have several videos on how to customize making moccashoe patterns, and especially I love the no gather technique. So that way it's you make the pattern customized to your foot and make a mock-up and see if any changes need to be made, and then you've got a pattern that's customized for you, and you can make all sorts of different shoes and boots from that pattern.